Hey, Veteran Nation fans, and today you're not going to get a short from me, you're going to get an update. There is a couple big cases out there dealing with guns, specifically high capacity, what's known as high capacity magazines. And it's very good for those of us who are in favor of gun rights, because there's been a lot of cases that have gotten to various appeals courts, like Duncan v. Bonta. That was a case where the district court judge said, "Oh, hey, this law against capacity magazines with more than 10 rounds, that's unconstitutional." And it went up to, if I remember correctly, it went up to the Ninth Circuit Court in front of a 3-judge panel. They said it's unconstitutional, but then it was taken as an en banc, meaning the whole appeals court got to rule on it. And they said, oh, excuse me here, my arm's just getting a bit tired. They said, oh, this law is actually constitutional. So it's being appealed to the Supreme Court. Whether or not the Supreme Court would take it is a big deal. But the chances of it now going in front of the Supreme Court are very, very good. And here's why. There's a new case, Benson v. U.S., and that one, the district judge out of D.C. said the guy was challenging D.C.'s magazine capacity and said that 10 rounds is unconstitutional. And the judge said, no, it's constitutional. Then it got appealed to the appeals court, the D.C. appeals court, and a 3-judge panel said, oh yeah, this is clearly unconstitutional based upon what the recent Supreme Court decisions have said. So what we have now is a circuit split. Now, here's why it's likely to go in front of the Supreme Court. And I actually learned about this through Mark Smith of the Four Boxes Diner. He's right here on YouTube. You should absolutely go and check out his channel. He's very knowledgeable. He's a gun rights attorney and talks about a lot of these cases and things that he's talked about and said, this is what's going to happen. He's been very correct. So he's one of the people I trust. And he was talking that the gun grabbers were trying to do a motion up to the D.C. Court of Appeals to get that taken en banc. So they're trying to do exactly what happened in Duncan v. Bonta, but it's been rejected. So if it does go en banc, it's not going to be expedited. It's going to take a long time. And the en banc panel said, look, we want certain people and organizations like the Trump Department of Justice, we want them to weigh in. So they are taking their time. So in the meantime, we have a circuit split. So these other challenges that are going up, like with Duncan v. Bonta, the chances of them getting certiorari, meaning that the Supreme Court is actually going to take the case, is now going way up. And if these cases go in front of the Supreme Court, I expect that this time next year, because it's not going to happen in the term of the court this time. This court's term ends roughly in June, picks back up in August, September. So it won't go this time in front of the Supreme Court. It'll go on the next session. Okay, so in the fall, very late spring is when we can expect that. It'll probably be announced if they're taking it up before then, but it will likely be taken up then. And when that happens, you can expect that we will have a Supreme Court win for a lot of different reasons. And here are some of those reasons. This whole 10-round magazine, it's all very arbitrary. They can't really explain why 10 rounds compared to 30. I know that they'll say, well, high capacity shootings, but okay, but what states that? What states that? There's really nothing. So it's kind of like this flimsy thing that they've just come up with. They just pulled it out of the air. They can't point to any precedent. They can't point to any previous gun law. They can't show why 10 rounds. Now, on the flip side, for those of us who are in favor of gun rights. There's a lot of reasons why we can point to the 30-round magazine. One such is that, for the most part, the Supreme Court interprets the right to keep and bear arms as a right of the people, because we need a militia. So the Fourth Amendment says a free state, or what is it? A free militia is necessary for a free state, essentially, is how it states it at the beginning of the Second Amendment. So it's talking about individuals. It's not talking about the National Guard. It's not talking about the military. The National Guard, when they wrote it, was not even thought of, okay? They're talking about just common people, that a militia of common citizens to come together and, secure their thing is probably one of the most American things ever. And this was written just after the Revolutionary War, where the militia was very key in opposing the British forces. So the militia, it approached it as, this is for regular citizens to form a militia. And a militia is allowed to have the most common military arms. So pretty much your standard military issue. So that's why an AR-15, because the AR-15 is the equivalent of an M4/M16. It's just the civilian version of it, okay? There's a couple, like, it doesn't have the selector switch for 3-round burst, but really that's just nominal. So the Supreme Court looks at it as, well, if we're going to do this as standard issue to all of our soldiers, then, that means the common people should be able to have it, or in common practice. So that's why the AR-15. Well, guess what? What is the standard issue magazine for our military? It's a 30-round magazine. So that is why it's commonplace. There's no laws that they can point to that say 10 rounds. That's the first thing. Second thing is, this is a standard issue for our military. So if we're going to have to rely on a militia at some point to combat a threat, we need to have them armed the way we would your standard soldier. And right there is the thought process. It's very, very easy, very historical. In fact, the Militia Act of 1791 even told our militias in this country, you have to be ready with your own personal arms. So if you're going to have people fight as a standard soldier, just not in the military, and you want them to bring their own arms, then logic dictates, okay, they should have an arm that's at least a civilian equivalent of the military, and that would also mean that all the things for that to operate, such as magazines, which are required for operation, would also emulate exactly what the standard issue for our military is. So if you're a gun rights guy like me, we have about a year, and I got a feeling we're going to have some very, very good news. And as far as the front of being able to carry magazines that are 30 rounds, there are other gun things out there that are very key, but this one's, I'm just sticking with the magazines, talking about those. So just be ready, and thank you for being here and for being here as part of this. And as always, thank you for being worth serving.